looked into it. Oh, sorry.
No,
But
you're
he does have this methodological or epistemological model of the constellation, which is about how reality escapes concepts and how the only way to achieve reality in discourse or in language or what have you is to constellate so that each bit talks to the next bit, but there's never any rounding kind of subsumption of reality into what we think and use in our concepts. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that was wonderful, Briony. Thank you. I think Rula's dropped off, but I'm sure she'll be back. But I think this is actually a good time to start transitioning into more sharing. And I'm sure, Briony, if you want to put your email in the chat for anybody who wants to ask you more questions, or any way that they can get in touch with you would be great. I am going to take this moment to really quickly put on my non-co-host editor hat. I'm also the editor of a publication called The Rose in the World, and it's a biannual publication. Our submission deadline is coming up September 25th, and I will put the link to the information about that in the chat now. And so if you're unfamiliar with The Rose, take some time to look through our archives and familiarize yourselves. The mission of The Rose is to bring wisdom to our readers' lives and sacred spaces, the wisdom of dreams, synchronicity, myths, and archetypes. We publish everything from long form essays, personal, fictional, accessible academic writing, to prose, poetry, songs, and all sorts of visual artwork, paintings, photography, drawing, sculpture, a little bit of everything. We also have a link to submit a dream narrative anonymously, because every issue of The Rose starts with a dream. This issue will continue the theme that we started in 2020, which offers our readers connection in this time of distancing. It will be published online at the end of October. And when you're submitting, please keep in mind the time of year and current events. What have the pandemic, climate crisis, social justice movements, and more impacted your dreams or spiritual practice? And how have dream synchronicities, creative and spiritual practices sustained you when you consider everything this past year? We also usually take into consideration the time of the year that it will be published and the sort of spiritual days around that. So this is Samhain, All Saints, All Souls Day. So you might want to consider the guidance of the ancestors, the remembrance of those who have passed, and the healing power of grief. Let these topics guide you, but do not let them constrain you, because I really love to see the themes that come out on their own too, when we get all these different submissions in. So I hope you'll consider submitting to The Rose. And I'll also put in the chat my email address if you have any questions, and the email to submit. So that's that. And
that's
now,
wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Before we start, also with the presenters, I would just like to again tell everyone who is familiar with Indelible, which is another journal, a literary and arts journal that I edit, that we are now open for submissions. The submissions deadline is the 20th of December, and the theme for this time is the feminine. There will be, new for this issue. This is issue number 6, but we will now, from now on, start having a Psychreative section. So if you have, you're welcome to submit poetry, photography, paintings, short stories, fiction, nonfiction, anything. But if you have a Psychreative theme, or something that has a psychological perspective on the theme of the feminine, then we will have that put in the Psychreative section of the journal. So many who are here with us today have already submitted to Indelible, like Carol, Omar, Gottfried, Am I missing anyone else here? Hedy, Hedy, of course. So this is something that I wanted to tell you about. I'll also put in my email in the chat box. So if you have anything that you would like to submit on the theme of the feminine from a psychological perspective or any other creative school, then feel free to do so. A literary Oktoberfest on Zoom will also be coming up, and it will be, again, cross-disciplinary. So there will be some depth psychologists and some literary figures as well. I'm just going to share this screen. I'll share it again during the next Psychreative because we still have time before October, but just to kind of let you know what's coming up. Can you see this? The Literary Oktoberfest. So October 6th, we will be having Susan Rowland in conversation with Grace Topping and Connie Berry on the Cozy Mystery novel. And then October 13th, we have Carol Pouliot and John Gaspar, who will also be speaking about mystery novels. And October 20th, we will have Catriona Miller and Charlene Harris talking about vampire series, movie series, and novels as well. Just one more announcement. This is a conference that's coming up with the London Centre for Interdisciplinary Research, who also endorse Indelible. I thought this might be of interest to many of you because it's a conference on ecofeminism and environmental studies. So the conference will take place on the 16th and 17th of October. And the deadline for submissions for proposals is the 31st of August. I don't know if Lena is with us. I believe I saw Dr. Lena Litovka, who is the brilliant director of the London Centre for Interdisciplinary Research. So if you are interested, please drop her a line. I will also write the email here in the chat box. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. So, Sarah, I'm going to throw it to you right now.
So next we have to share Jessica Steele.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me okay? The internet's all right? Yeah. Okay. Yep. Brilliant. Okay. Well, mine is certainly not going to be as polished as Briony's. It's what I wanted to share with you today was something that we did in the last Jungian arts-based research group, which is open to anyone. So do get in touch with Briony, who actually co-founded it. But we did an exercise with a colleague of mine called Liz Hills, who is both a student on the Jungian MA course like myself, but she's also an astrologer and a person-centered counselor. And her area of research is about looking at areas of people's astrological charts and seeing how complexes might manifest in the different alignments, problematic alignments. And what she got us to do through a series of little exercises was do some active imagination on a particular problematic kind of connection or correlation between different planets and luminaries. And she got us to sort of, through using James Hillman's set of sort of images and words to do with the luminaries and the planets, got us thinking about those so that we could sort of tease apart what this complex might be about. So mine were the Sun and Neptune, and I just wanted to share with you both the images and the poems that came up. As I said, this is very raw, but I found it an incredibly unexpectedly moving experience. And I thought it might sort of shed some literal light on this practice. So, so yes, so what I was doing at first was Neptune. So Neptune, in Hillman's words, is things like the Lord of Dreams, illusions, fantasy, but really kind of seems to encapsulate the unconscious, really. The sun was standing in Jungian terms for the ego, the ruler, the sovereign, could be arrogance, those sort of things. So we had to kind of meditate on those words and see what images and things came up. So, so for Neptune, I don't know if you can see here, and this is very rough, it's only a couple of minutes, but got the idea of the sun beneath the waves. So this is the first little poem that I came up with. So, double-sided mirror, betwixt and between, unseen mover, liminal trickster, ephemeral truth, fixed and dissolving, liquid reflection. Sun beneath the waves, illuminate the depths, shed your light, above and below, swallowed whole. And afterwards, Liz got us to think about a dialogue between these two planets or luminaries and see what came up. Now, as you see, already the sun was appearing there. My unconscious was already blooming images and ideas. And what came about was a dialogue between the sun and Neptune. But what's interesting is how I've written it. I start off with yellow for the sun. I don't know if you can see this, but yellow for the sun. And then very quickly, Neptune starts to take over in blue and then interjected with the sun. And I thought that was really interesting. I felt very, very overcome by these figures in a way. And I really saw this image of the solar system surrounding the sun, which, you know, Hillman says is like the ego. So here we go. This is what came up spontaneously. Center of the universe, sovereign sun. Center of the universe, all as one. Blaze your light, the fusion come of compressed energy into the uncanny, cold depths of space. Your molten gaze, lidless eye, always awake, burn me away. But wait, deep in these depths, fall to my embrace, not cold but silken, dreamy, distant, circling your majesty, yet promising eternity, illusory, on the edge, the tether loosens, fall forever, I draw you closer and closer into the dream, the liquid fantasy, the edge of reality. Make sense with your harsh lines, your bright light, stark white. Are you any more illusory than me, thinking you can rule it all as we perforce circle, lured and trapped in this celestial dance, this cosmic romance? Until your fire flickers out and you expand and transcend, eating us with your full red, cooling depths. Melt into my waters, burn in my fires, hold us together in this dance, this cosmic romance. There you go.
That was lovely, Jess. It was a wonderful session with Liz too.
It was lovely.
I mean,
yeah.
lots and lots of interesting things came out.
Exactly. That's why
Thank
I wanted to just share a bit of the background, because I think, as we always discuss in Jungian art space research, and it can get very cerebral, even though we're about the unconscious, we're about the irrational, the emotional, the imaginative, and soon we're sort of talking about complexes, and, you know, we're back in the world of the ego. So yeah, I just wanted to share that and share that amongst friends. So.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks. Next we have Hedy.
Hi, Hedy. Always brilliant poems.
Thank you for having me. I'll be reading two short poems about memory and mirroring. So I hope some of the thoughts or images are going to kind of resonate with what we've seen so far. The first poem is titled Hall of Mirrors. First, there's the mirror of memory. You only need to refuel it with lies and illusions. Project it onto a screen, winding up sequences of animated scenes at will. In the dormant well of memory, you seek yourself and lose yourself. Sit for hours on the polished lip of the well as you meditate over your lengthening shadow. Perform a makeover of your mind to erase the ravages of time. A touch of blush over cheekbones blurs gravity lines, tilts features upwards, and if this fails, a few hours of sleep should put a glimmer in the eyes, redress drooping eyelids, avoid the unsightly x-rays of your mortality. Then comes the mirror of forgetfulness, swallowing bit by bit your selective memory, stretching time and space, a fluid mirror clouded with ripples, rippling memories. The elusive mirror in which you drown night after night, searching for answers to the same questions. You wish to turn nightmares into paradise. Sleep paralysis overcomes you as past and future merge on their own terms, choose their own colors, glide in swift motion. Deafening rhythmic steps resound in premonition, emerge erratically from the recesses of your mind. Inaudible tunes fall, scatter like the last leaves of autumn. And the second poem is titled Stepping into Mirrors. Stepping into mirrors is diving in deep sea. Would the sea withhold the memory of sunken bodies, bodies of migrants hoping to reach the shore? Would mirrors remember familiar faces, first thing in the morning, the startled look before the reassuring makeup, the daily questioning? Would mirrors record the roundness of breasts and their gradual falling? Observe how curves rouse when rubbed with scented essential oils? Would mirrors bring to life my mother's early ritual, features clouded by Coty's muguet de bois, fluffy puff, carefully outlining lips and eyebrows? Would shards of shattered mirrors stamp severed limbs, blood-soaked shirts, dust-covered skin, serve as fingerprints for not turning the page or swerve after cleanup? Would the reflection subside forever, leave an imprint outside of your mind, coded messages for us to retrieve from the other side of the mirror? Would the sea withhold the memory of sunken bodies, bodies of migrants hoping against odds to reach the shore? Stepping into mirrors is diving in deep sea. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hedy. These are wonderful. I believe these two poems are from your book, The Taste of the Earth.
The Taste of the Earth, my latest book.
Thank you so much for sharing. These are wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's always such a treat to hear your poetry, Hedy.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
So next we have Elena.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm going to read two poems from my chapbook in progress, First Life, Second Life, a memoir in poems. The silverware. The story goes that my mother and her older sister buried the family silverware under a queen's tree in a full moon, in full view of the moon, 3 days before the Russian march in. Did mother ask God to safeguard the tiny spoons fit for a child mouth, her beloved bell singers at the hour of sweet linden tea? Did my aunt fingers touch her husband's prints left on the knife handle when he carved a roasted lamb at the All Saints' Day feast? Did she think of him caught between birch trees and bullets on the gruesome green land by the elbow of the Dniester River? That summer of 1944 was buried under layers upon layers of dark stories. Only the silverware remained, small metallic bones wrapped in a white linen in a wooden chest drawer. My second one is called The House. You've been warned. What you are looking for, it is not in the old house, where the winds reach the future, turning up the roof tiles like tarot cards, and the wooden front door peels in orderless scroll the saga of scorching summers. And yet, you enter that stillness left by dry moth curled on window sills. You roam the rooms with nothing to touch, only cold light sliding down a wall photograph. A uniformed man, chest gilded with medals, a hand on the back of a chair, sitting, a young woman, across her lap, a single calla lily like a silent trumpet. You stare and stare at that sepia sadness while your mind sails to your grand aunt, unhappily married to a colonel, but a dignified widow of a war hero. You recall her platinum hair pulled back in a chignon, her fingers looping threads into ribbons of lace falling at her feet on the terrace with a view to the Black Sea. You try to hold that image under closed eyes, try so hard, almost hear the sea tides stating their own white lace on the shores of the world. It's always like this. You look for one thing and find another grief. Thank you.
Wow. That was very powerful, Elena. Thank you so much for sharing your poems with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Very happy to have you with us.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. So next we have Omar.
Hi, can I try and share screen if it works?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, let me see. What happens now? What do I do? Share screen goes there, share. Yeah, is that, can everyone see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I want to read 2 or 3 poems, if I might, from my forthcoming collection in 2022 with Cinnamon Press, Morning Lit Portals After Aliyah. Majority of the book is, you know, about family relations, in particular my daughter. But I wanted to read, wait, I have to find the right place. Down we go. Yeah, around there, 74. I thought I'd read a poem called Sleep, which is on page 79. Sorry. Like many of the poems, it's about my daughter, and it's about what you might think is predictable, which is that babies don't like to go to sleep. And I thought because we're at a Jungian event, it might be suggestive of something. I can find it, sorry. Sleep, yes, here it is. Can everyone hear me, I think, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just see if I can negotiate the screen. Okay, so sleep. Most of this book incorporates rhyme because that's the way I started working, and I just decided to continue with it. So sleep, for Aliyah and Fatin Sabah. The walls, buried back by bookshelves, seem to drip with the knowledge that as much as purple is your favorite color, there is a seemly time for burrowing into your pillow's slowly studied earth. And yet, each night, you are a waylaid warrior, mirrored by the mind's grip now of a day's long worth. the sun steps of the daily pledge you make, to fight sleep with a clamoring song that spills in small grandeurs of rising wealth, the sheer wake a measure of you. And yet, each night you picket the sky as though it were a tarnished darkness, warring your warbles, draped in the fancy dress of a protest, shouting colors in an arc of massive blue, because it is unwelcome, an ocean that wants to hold you down and to drown you to nether regions of nightly naught, unpieced again. And so, we dare not press the plea of timeliness, seemliness, the due and proper cue, to unstrap the wings that may have guided you through the day, a wide, unvanquished traveler, because even here in the seam of sleep, you may need them once more to see. Okay, where's another one? I'll read another one if I may, or one or two more if possible. This piece, oh, by the way, I should say I was lucky enough, the reason why I read Sleep was because it was in my mind because it was shortlisted recently for a new issue of a journal. So it's kind of, my hopes are set on that. Here's one called Matter Beyond Matter, and it's for Alia again. I think it's coming out at the end of the year in an anthology. So I'll read it if I might. She likes to place words in his mouth, then asks for a kiss to seal them. The while, his lips seethe with apple-colored gems unspoken, fearing, as he does, their new way south when first she hears them. The innate beauty of his words, the way they'll now turn, fold, by the arts of an odd dark smithy and spin, tussle with some bad magic in the air, till they become dun and dross, and all the many things they are not, the membra disjecta for her many sins, and all his winnings now painted as loss. There's no contest here, and there never was, but those who insist on competing with the weapons they know, with the tools of some learned malice or mischief, aimed to wound the purest air, end up even sadder than they ever were. There's no winner, loser in a life when true to itself, and money and sex and power, though useful at times, run to nothing or more, to below nothing in the end. What counts, the number that matters, is the art quality of the heart that went pained, shackled and cuffed by the one coursing riff that did, in fact, matter. What was heard, dressing the air from self to self when God was in the wings without a cue, only listening perhaps to poor old you, turning sky blue gifts into more sky blue. Can I read one more, or is it out of time?
Yeah, no, you can. You still
That'd
can.
be great.
Mm-hmm.
Great. This one is called The Sacrifice for Alia. Again, maybe not the most adventurous aesthetic, but I tend to write in a kind of quasi-reflective mode rather than imagistic. And this was it's a piece I'm quite happy with. So it's called The Sacrifice for Alia. For the lips of my daughter, and what they might come to speak in time, and what they might say in words bolder than the future, I'm ready to meet each rich sacrifice. From out of the strange whole plenty given me, staggered by the gift as it devolved in staggered shades to this small cramped corner, this shrinking place, where I'm closer now and close to being shriven of all engoldenness that was given. It seems that, slotted here on the block, I've one more last decision to make for these fig-colored lips, my daughters. And later, when, with harsh voice questions, they beggar me with the why of it, and I, less a single cause or coin left to make a sure reply, I'll simply say, I suffered to be touched with theft for the redder lips of my daughter. And then, even later, when they ask of my dear lips, and what of mine, I'll simply say that once upon a time I had them, but that now there are none. Thanks. Just wanted to share those few Alia
Thank you,
poems.
Omar.
How do
These
I,
are very sweet poems. They're wonderful.
thank you very much. And I'm hoping it'll be a good book next year, inshallah. Anyway,
I'm sure it will be.
thanks for the opportunity. It was really fun.
Thank you for joining. And next we have Jade. Are you there?
I think she had to leave early, so it's
Oh, okay.
you
Right. Okay.
open to the group.
Okay. I can do that. All right. So I'm working on a new manuscript and a poetry manuscript, and it is mostly the impetus behind it was kind of reviving some buried treasures, cultural treasures in my native country. I'm Lebanese American. My parents are both originally Lebanese. My grandparents are Lebanese. I was born in America to third generation immigrants, Lebanese immigrants. However, Lebanon is a place that I always visit. I haven't visited for the past 2 years because of the pandemic, so I hadn't visited anywhere else. And there are lots of poem recipes and reflections on food and places and memories and a little bit of history here and there. I'm working now with a poetry mentor who is, my mentor is Anthony Anaxagoro, who is just brilliant. He had a look at some of the poems that I wrote for this manuscript a few days ago. And one of them was a poem that I shared with the previous Psychreative, which was originally called Essence of Rose. Well, I think we kind of ended up rewriting the whole thing. It's about a drink. It's about rose cordial, which is rose syrup that you mix with cold water and ice. You could also freeze it if you want. But he told me to try writing about a rose cordial without mentioning the word rose. So this is what I got. Maybe I'll share the screen with you. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so now it's called coating fog. So that's a huge difference. A ruby chalice smelling of rosariums. Stories tell us again how you were shed from Aphrodite's rib. Remind us why we, like Mark Antony, fell in love, slipping into a fragrance. Translucent cups frozen into lines on the coating fog. Through smiles sketched, the sanguine-colored juice, now transparent. Light reveals the core of the wound, a place where motion spoons through the ice-bound layer, cracking into all we drink. I don't know if any of you remember how it looked like, but this is a little different. I don't know if it suggests rose cordial anymore, but it kind of suggests the essence of the rose cordial the way that it is meant to. So I kind of like it better. It feels like, when you get a new haircut that completely changes the way you look, and in the beginning you're a little bit shocked, but then it kind of grows on you. Well, this is my relationship with this poem. There's another poem, this one, A Breeze Cannot But Pass. This was written after a morning when my husband and I were touring through our village. My husband is also from the same village. We were touring the village on foot, so it took us a few hours, and we went through some of the places that we used to go to as children, special memories, the meaning of being in diaspora, so many familiar sights. So it was kind of like a mix of memories, dreams, and reflections. So enter Jung. Downhill, uphill. Footsteps strike a percussion of memoirs to the rhythm of a hiker's metabolic rate in July sun. Heat. Hair thickens into wool. Broomstick bristles. A breeze would always pass by to comb those strands, rooted in sculp made on this very root. Inside, like outside, is a garden. Everything here has its roots. We water them so our days can prosper like those geraniums flickering in red waves from old milk tins. Tatra, Regile, Nido. Children grew up with Nido. We inhale the breath of cyclamens as coffee moves into the scent of their rubicea dropped on the ground like touch on a jasmine trail. In one briny olive at the breakfast table, I taste my sister's longing, diaspora, locked in lands distant as incomprehensible thoughts. The sweetness of caramelized onions. I remember they were once raw and tear-inducing. A breeze can't but pass to cool the wounds where the paths close. That's it. There's one called Mind the Gap, feeling a little nostalgic for London. I also hadn't been to London for almost 2 years now. I promised myself not to write another lockdown poem, but like an empty bottle of shampoo, there's still the chance of squeezing out one more spoonful of liquid bubbles. I cannot but mind the gap between the now here and the now there. But it's the next now that we count on from this moment. The now when cues will be scary little adventures, but doable anyway. The now when the hilly bosom of the Green Park is sprinkled with the loud confetti of laughter and busy conversation. When the open air is breath inhaled by the open museum doors nearby. When people and paintings are no longer one and the same, no longer frozen in time. Thank you. And I don't know if anyone would like to give it a shot at the open mic now. Thank you, Hedy. So if anyone would like to share a poem or a painting, we still have a few more minutes left.
I'll read one. Can I read another one if there's no one? If there's no one who wants to.
Carol's hand was up, right, Carol?
Yeah,
I see your hand up?
I'll do one.
Sorry.
It's not too
Sure.
long.
Okay,
Let's
lovely.
see. Let me share the screen here really quick. Okay. Let's see. Hang on. Okay. This is called The Beckoning. And okay. 3 red signs stand at the crest of a hill, diamond-shaped sentinels perched above a long cobbled street, at the foot of a paved one that climbs in gray asphalt. The mark ending and block the way through. They mark a past and a present, provide a place to rest while walking in quiet attention. The steep incline, day and night, revolve in spite of fixed things. Old streets gather moss. Autumn leaves stray cats. The breath deepens on hills like this. Red signs bright as cherries in threes bring on slot machine dreams to push away in still hours, thoughts to push away. The walk is the same and different each day, the way long, whether traveling up or down. I've traversed this place, this dead end, from the other direction, and still I stop to sit on the metal barricade to gaze down into the wide basin near the ocean where Indians once lived, coyotes, fox under skies just like this, with passing clouds, rain, blue dome, birds inside flying in all directions. In places, nothing has changed. It has never snowed here. But I once saw a couple stop in this same place while I made my way up the hill alone. They smiled and laughed, kissed, held hands, while those moments were suspended in some perfect kind of time that fills the idle hours when love has arrived, as it always has and always will, even when we find the climb interminable, the land too filled with built things, too occupied like the mind, too attached to the color of things, the eye too, dazzled by birds inside, flying in all directions, the constant movement of the mind, the constant revolving flickers, trace of memory, tracing the daily walk, the slow unfolding of something unmet that constantly beckons. Okay.
I love the ending. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And anyone else? One more poem, probably. Oh, Lauren, yes, that would be wonderful. Please go ahead.
Unmute. I feel like I'm doing this on a dare. Anyway, so just to understand, it's the ending of a 50-page novella in verse, and it's the death scene, or about my mother's death. And a name will pop up. Nick would be my brother. It was sort of about my brother coming out in a very, coming out as gay in a very traditional old world Italian family, Italian American. What did I come from besides working class? I was thrown into my future from somebody else's past. I was given a girl's body and the duties of men. I hoist huge burdens, pretending feminine. I care for the aged when eternal youth is prized. How can I not help but carry the world's chaos inside? When my parents died, I was left holding their dreams. I was not a free agent because the stitch in my seams is partly apparent, part of the past. I am the pattern of my ancestors with new cut lines and tabs. To start a new fashion, to begin a new trend, I must fasten new cloth to raggedy old ends, trim the frayed edges, press wrinkles out. As I tailor my present, I must let rip the future, let the seams out. At any one point in anyone's life, in my case, I am the child of a husband and wife. We are left with one parent when the other one dies or goes into limbo without a heartfelt goodbye. In our case, it was Norma, our mother, the glue, the one that Nick could best relate to. Multiple myeloma struck at her core. In the marrow of her bones, a cancer was born. I was not yet 30, Nick 31. When lying in her bed, mother asked of son, Nick, is it true that you never will marry? Denial so strong, words her tongue couldn't carry, like queer or pansy or Twinkie or fag. These were ideas our mother did not have. As I hugged my mother in a hospital bed, she lay there not wanting because all that she needed was all that she had. 2 children who loved her, siblings who cared, work friends, church friends, so much love that it seemed death would be spared or at least made more distant, sent to a place quite remote. We would encircle my mother with our hands, dig a moat to forever protect her, fill the trench with our tears. The salts would preserve her, or so we thought, for more years. Age 30 should be wondrous. It's when mind finds its soul. It's that point of departure when youth touches old, when fruit starts to ripen and tree bark grows moss. And just at that moment, I was facing a loss. What was my anchor? That old man and his sea. I couldn't stand to be near him, and he couldn't stand to see me. We were trapped in trick mirrors in an old haunted house. A disjointed mother, a distorted spouse. What is the meaning? What holds the truth? It's the story of the ages grown long in the tooth. Whether it's families on Main Street or the doges of Venice, families can multiply in confusion and menace. When there's much that's not taught, much left unspoken, or the words that are said leave lives shambled and broken. What should have been a message for the living instead is buried in coffins with our loved ones now dead. Sorry, I meant to put the video on.
Thank you so much. I love how you turned the story to a narrative poem. It's just so powerful this way. And thank you so much for sharing.
Oh,
Lauren.
thank you. Thank you for letting me read.
Thank you. Thank you. And we hope you do this more often. Now that we've gotten a sample of your poetry, so we hope to see you here, you and Elena and everyone else who joined us new. Okay, so Sarah, I guess this is it, right?
That's it, yeah.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you all for being here today, /tonight, /this afternoon. And we hope to see you again in September Our next Psychreative session will be September 19th with Louise. Is Louise still here? No. Okay. So Louise Austin will be the speaker for our next Psychreative session. And again, if you would like to share a piece of writing, a poem, or an artwork, please let me know. Just drop me a line a few days or a couple of weeks in advance so that we can have you on the list. Thank you so much again for being here. And we hope you're all safe. Stay safe, take care, and see you again next month.
Thank you. What day is the next one?
Oh, the next one will also be a Sunday because because of Louise's schedule. So Sundays are better than Saturdays. And then from that time onwards, it's going to be Saturdays.
Sunday the 5th?
The 19th.
The 19th.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So have a great evening or a great day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Bye.
Thank you.